Lewis Hamilton, P1.
Yeah, Lewis
Mega.
Hamilton.
His first year at Ferrari was a complete disaster. His worst year in Formula 1 ever since 2007. And now his comeback. Suddenly, Lewis is in a real position to fight for Drivers' World Championship, which hasn't been done by a Ferrari driver in, many years. 12 months ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said, no, this is not going to happen anymore at his age and the way Ferrari is performing. But now, I wouldn't bet against him.
That would have been another huge psychological blow to George Russell. And
it would have broken him. George needs to get pole in Barcelona, or it will be over the championship for him in Mercedes. You need to show your strengths once in a while to make sure you get the team behind you to believe in you, that you are also still a challenger for the title.
Quick word on Charles Leclerc.
No, it's like since his contract was signed, it was downhill.
He's just not contended, and he's not been part of the narrative.
The fastest, the best driver on the grid is going to finish 5th or 6th in the championship this year. And that is Max Verstappen. If you put Max and Kimi in the car, Max will still beat him. Can you imagine if Mercedes gets them in one team one day? Oh.
Well, hello and welcome to the Pit Talk podcast, powered by Ithar. A bit of a different podcast this week. For those of you listening in, we'll reveal all in a matter of moments. For those of you watching, well, yeah, the cat might already be out of the bag. But listen, let's start. It's myself, Chris McCarthy, the main man himself. He's sporting an Italian tan this week. It's Robert Doornbos. How are you, Bobby D?
Hello, mate. Good to be back. I'm in the hot seat at Mille Miglia. You're in New York. Not a bad place either.
Hey, New York. As you can see from the backdrop behind me. I tell you, Rob, it's not often you're usually the jet setter. I'm the one normally stuck in Dubai. It's roles reversal.
I just arrived this morning at 6 a.m. Back from a crazy rally through Italy. Well, we'll talk about that later. But good to be back and right in time to watch the Grand Prix of Barcelona with Lewis Hamilton, P1.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton.
Mega.
Back on top of the podium. What a race it was. You and I were swapping WhatsApps. I think there's an 8-hour time difference from Dubai over here to New York, and we were swapping WhatsApps. We were saying to one another, after 20 odd laps, it was shaping up to be a boring race, and then we had drama.
Yeah, the thing is, in Barcelona, I always look forward to the start because it's one of the longest straights into turn one. So if you have a bad Saturday, you qualify third, for example, Kimi Antonelli, you can make up 2 or 3 car lengths until you reach turn one. So it's famous for that. But in actual fact, it was quite a boring start for Formula 1 standards. Everybody went quite clean through the first couple of corners. And then it was just waiting for the tires to degrade and for the first pit stops. Different strategies straight away with the soft tires and the medium and the hard. So there was a lot going on.
A lot of tactics. But listen, let's start. The story to end all stories. Lewis Hamilton, his first Ferrari victory, Robert, his 106th of his illustrious career. The oldest man to win a Grand Prix since 1970. We go back to the South African Grand Prix of Sir Jack Brabham. Just what a drive, what a journey it's been for Lewis to get where he has today.
Yeah, and to consider where he's coming from, Chris. I mean, 2 years ago, it was the last 2 years haven't been great. Obviously, his last year at Mercedes wasn't great because when he announced that he went to Ferrari, for some reason, the results didn't come either. The car wasn't great. His first year at Ferrari was a complete disaster. His worst year in Formula 1 ever since 2007. And now his comeback, he changed something. He asked for Frédéric Vasseur, who he praised on the podium. Can I get a new race engineer this year? Can I get some change of staff, change of the braking? I want to be more involved with the development of the car. And since Australia, he's been on it. This was just a build-up. And we predicted it after Monaco. We said a victory for Lewis Hamilton is going to happen soon. But 7 days later, I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, it's amazing. The contrast that we've seen in Lewis. You and I on a previous podcast spoke about his body language after that Etihad Airways Abu Dhabi Grand Prix last year, when he talked about the fact he wanted to throw his phone away, he wanted to just get away, not speak to anyone. He was negative. At that point, we wondered, could his even contract be ripped up at Ferrari? And yet here we are, 7 races into the season. Not lost on me, his 7th victory in Catalonia as well. So 7's clearly a lucky number for Lewis, but it's polar opposites.
And what a place to do it, in Barcelona. We all remember the big Michael Schumacher when he left to Ferrari. Everybody was like, is he going to build up that famous Italian team from Maranello? And his first victory also came in Barcelona. So there's some history there, and I think Lewis will be super, super happy. I mean, the body language says it all, but also the communication. His Italian is getting better by the weekend, but he's obviously very grateful to be in this position. And to be honest, Chris, in my days already in Formula One, if your car is fast in Barcelona, you're going to be fast everywhere, because this track has so many characteristics of a Formula One car, where it's good at the downforce levels, the braking, etc. And it seems to match the Ferrari perfectly. You know, his teammate was struggling, but Lewis was flying in qualifying. He was super fast in the race. Yeah, he was lucky with the virtual safety car, but I think he would have still won it in the end.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about just how fast the Ferrari is, Robert. They brought an upgrade to Barcelona this weekend as well. They've not had an awful lot of luck with upgrades in recent times, it's got to be said. There have been instances where when they brought an upgrade, it's actually worked out as a downgrade. The car has gone in reverse. Not this weekend, though. That Ferrari was on rails, as you like to say.
Yeah, but that's the difference when a driver is in the groove. There's a lot of hard work behind the scenes that we don't see, but we know that he has to put in his physical efforts, obviously his mental state. Like you said, he recovered, but also knowing what you want from the car. He is, at the end of the day, a veteran in Formula One, but he's a 7-time world champion for a reason. He knows how to set up a car to his liking, and obviously now it's gelling, and the updates are confirming his driving style.
Yeah, you've talked about the virtual safety car. You are right. You need a little bit of luck whenever you win a Formula One race. But fundamentally, what really broke the back of this race, in my opinion, Rob, was that middle stint after the second pit stop. That was Lewis Hamilton of old.
Mega. And I think the camera was on the two Mercedes fighting with each other, which was great. We suddenly heard Kimi Antonelli on the radio, "Can I push?" And he just got half a second per lap out of George Russell, and suddenly he was in his gearbox again. George must have thought, "Oh no, here we go again." But then in the meantime, Hamilton was just on his middle stint, clawing away lap time from the Mercedes guys, lap after lap, and on a different strategy, a 3-stopper, it made a difference in the end.
Certainly did. I mean, what does this do, Robert? It's the intangibles, isn't it? We can sit here and say it gives him confidence. It might give him a bit of momentum, but you've been in a Formula One car. What does this victory for Lewis Hamilton do today for him?
Well, it's all about momentum. I've been in a situation that obviously things were going well. I had my season in Champ Car when I had 9 podiums after each other, a couple of victories, a couple of podiums. You get in the groove. Everything seems to work well. All the decisions you make pan out in your favor. The tracks seem to suit his driving style, and you're in a European season where we have one race after the other. It's not back-to-back with Austria. There's 1 week in between, but we're getting in a groove. Obviously, big build-up to Silverstone, which is his home race. And let's not forget, Kimi Antonelli lost 25 points today. So suddenly, Lewis is in a real position to fight for Drivers' World Championship, which hasn't been done by a Ferrari driver in, many years. Kimi Räikkönen, obviously the last one to win a title.
Yeah, back in 2007, as we often reference. Do you honestly believe that? There'll be a lot of people listening or watching this saying, guys, we've got to calm down. It's one
Chris,
win.
The world can change quickly. I remember we were here in a podcast and we were analyzing the picture of Lewis Hamilton in front of the Maranello factory with all the Ferrari F40 in front and his pose, and they had the windows open. But there was also a window open to number 8, championship number 8. And we were like, no, this is, in a Netflix scenario, this will be great. But it's not easy. You look at the other champions that have moved to Ferrari. They haven't won the championship in the end. Sebastian Vettel or Fernando Alonso. So, yes, 12 months ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said, no, this is not going to happen anymore at his age and the way Ferrari is performing. But now, I wouldn't bet against him.
Well, it's funny, your old chum DC, I was watching F1 TV, DC in the commentary box, of course, and he was trying to make reference of the fact that this is like a Rocky movie, and he could not quite think of the other movie because, this isn't someone who's coming up from nowhere. Lewis Hamilton is a 7-time world champion, but in terms of a comeback, there's a potential Hollywood script here if Lewis can continue along the similar vein.
I mean, Formula One will love this. Let's be honest, Ferrari needs Formula One and Formula One needs Ferrari. Fans are all over the place still for Lewis. He's in a good vibe. Look at what happened last weekend when his girlfriend showed up to the Grand Prix in Monaco. I think she's just firing up a jet to celebrate with him in Barcelona, right? I mean, this is F1 at its best on the commercial side, but on the sportive side as well. I truly believe Lewis went deep to be that fit and that focused on this season, all or nothing, and it seems to work out well for him.
The other thing I took away from the celebrations, obviously Lewis, emotional, relieved, ecstatic, all of those emotions rolled into one in getting the victory. But did you notice, Robert, who was the first one to celebrate with him, or at least offer his congratulations? Kimi Antonelli was already there.
Kimi Antonelli. I mean, how enthusiastic was Lewis for Kimi that he's been performing outstanding in the past 5 Grand Prix in his old seat, So it's fantastic, this respect that they show for each other. And Kimi was, the first one there, but also other drivers were there. And I think the best part was Nico Rosberg, who's not his best mate, of course, of Lewis Hamilton, was waiting for the interview and seeing it unfold all in front of him. But I'm sure also Nico has a lot of respect for Lewis that he gets Ferrari back on top.
Yeah, I tell you, you know me, Robert, I like to make comparisons with other sports. I'm reminded after Tiger Woods won the Masters back in 2019, of course, the famous line from Jim Nantz, we've got now our fairy tale. And on that occasion, we saw a number of golfers, old and new, waiting for Tiger to step off that green to offer offer their congratulations. And you had Kimi Antonelli, you had George Russell in his interview with Nico Rosberg just talking about how delighted he was. And then you had Lando Norris. The first thing he says is, Lewis, I'm absolutely delighted for you, mate. That is how much respect there is in the garages for Lewis Hamilton.
But even his old rival, Max Verstappen, he showed up and shook his hand when he got the opportunity, because he also knows it's a big thing to change teams and to win again. He's liked in the paddock. I'm sure if it's a wheel-to-wheel battle later on in the season with Kimi, let's see how that ends up, because those both are fierce competitors. But for now, he can just soak it in. And I think before jumping on the scales, he had a moment that he sort of was, maybe his heartbeat was racing too high for him. He sort of had to settle in and take it all in before answering the press.
Yeah, you've already alluded to it. The powers that be, Robert, will be rubbing their hands with glee because, Kimi Antonelli's a great story. He is, in many respects, the future for F1, but very few move the needle. Very few do what Lewis Hamilton does. And this victory, with all that goes around it, means that FIFA World Cup ongoing. We've just seen over here in the Big Apple, the New York Knicks winning our first NBA Finals since 1973. But a Lewis victory makes sure that Formula One will be getting an awful lot of column inches in the coming days.
Yeah, it's a big story. It's a big story, and he's broken another record, 106 victories now. And even Nico asked him in the interview, what can you compare them to your other victories? And they're all special. But I think he was right to say that winning in red is something that still is a dream of any Formula One driver on the grid. And if they don't say it's like that, they're lying.
Yeah, he did say that. He said they're all special, but this might just be the most special of all. He also went on to thank his fans who have stood by him. He called them the greatest fans any sportsman can have. I mean, that's quite the statement, but there are a lot of loyalists out there for Lewis. Yes, he polarizes, and yes, there are some that will never pop him in the top 10, top 20 of greatest sportsmen of all time for various reasons. But his fans, they adore him, and they will be damn well happy tonight, that's for sure.
That's for sure. And he's still fit, because I don't know if you noticed this. I was driving on the onboards, looking on the onboards. I saw Kimi Antonelli turning into the last two corners, and his neck was almost outside of the cockpit, right? He was turning in like this. He really felt the neck muscles. And I saw Lewis just leaning into it. So, I mean, he might be the oldest driver since a long, long time ago, like you said, but he's still, since Jack Brabham, but he's still one of the fittest guys out there on the grid. Very impressive.
Right, it's taking me about 15 minutes, Rob. I've got a quiz question. You ready for it this week?
Oh, here we go again.
Hey, right. Lewis winning, George Russell finishing second, Lando Norris third. It's an all-British podium for the first time since when?
Wait, let me ask my friend Chet. No, I think I heard this on the podium, but I was on the way to the podcast. Must be in the 60s.
It is.
Or something.
I'll give you half a point for that. 1968. The United States Grand Prix, which is rather fitting given my current location.
Okay.
Now,
and who were those podium
bonus points
finishers?
Who were the finishers? 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, in the 60s, man. Yeah, I'm not going to get that point. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Was it Graham Hill, maybe?
Graham Hill was second. First was a compatriot of mine, Sir Jackie Stewart. And then finishing third.
Sir Jackie Stewart.
Yeah, and then finishing third was John Surtees. So that were the three.
Oh, yeah, big name, of course.
1968 for the last time for an all-British podium.
How do they compare with the podium finishers nowadays? Can you compare a John Surtees with a George Russell, maybe? Or a Jackie Stewart with Lando Norris?
And then Graham Hill as Lewis. I think we're in a right good patch. For British F1 fans, for British, the contingent, I think we're in a real good place. You just have to look at those three guys. And then, the Ole Behrmans of this world coming through, British racing is in a really, really good place. And yet, it's still the elder statesman that's getting the job done. Incredible.
Incredible. And it's also strange to see our world champion on the podium. Lando Norris, but for some reason I feel that the guy driving around in circles with the number 1 on his car, he's super relaxed about the whole situation, that obviously McLaren is not in a position to win or to defend that number 1 on his car. He's just enjoying it weekend in, weekend out while it's still on there. But he's not the world champion that you see in Lewis Hamilton or you see in a Max Verstappen. I'm missing something with Lando.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's an acceptance of where McLaren are. Right now, he knows that they can't compete with Mercedes and Ferrari, and obviously he's delighted at getting that one, and he knows the limitations of the car. So I think you're absolutely right to point that out.
Yeah, same goes for Oscar Piastri. Quite invisible race. I mean, Lewis passed him on the outside in turn 3. Big move. That also shows that, he's not putting it all on the line just to finish in 6th place or something. So, yeah, you're missing a bit of the fighting spirit we saw with the McLaren boys last year. And in general, it was more like a Ferrari and Mercedes show anyhow, because even Max Verstappen was invisible today.
Exactly. Yeah, didn't come up in any of the coverage. I don't think I heard his name uttered once. In truth, he was invisible because the story very much was the tactical battle involving the Mercedes and the Ferrari boys. I say boys, I've got to mention very quickly because, yes, the Ferrari team will be celebrating as one. Lewis Hamilton will be having a right good knees up, I'm sure, tonight. But a quick word on Charles Leclerc, because that's now 3 successive weekends, Robert, in which he's just not contended and he's not been part of the narrative.
No, it's like since his contract was signed, it was downhill. I mean, Monaco, the big weekend for him. Home race, put it in the wall, a driver error. Then another driver error in qualifying. Unnecessary to go off there. So I keep remembering his words, stupid, I'm stupid. But I think he rephrased it now this time and he apologized to the team. But it just shows the difference in confidence within Ferrari at the moment. And he sees Lewis Hamilton, stealing the show. And to be honest, it's very similar at Mercedes. There's George Russell that is telling himself, I have a great weekend. I'm on pole. I have trust in the car. I feel like I'm top again. Let's be honest, Kimi was way faster in the race than George. He had way more pace. To follow somebody like that in Barcelona, it means you have at least half a second more pace in the car. So these both, yeah. Yeah,
sorry, Rob. The other thing that I did notice as well, which I thought was interesting, we talk a lot about George. We talk a lot about the fact that, certainly for me, and listen, I'm no expert, I'm only giving my opinion as I see it, but he sometimes comes across as quite insecure in that car. And it was interesting early on, he was talking about Lewis pitting, but his focus wasn't on Lewis. It was the idea that he's been brought in to offset that. But what's Kimi up to? What does this do for Kimi? And it's like, well, just focus on yourself and focus with the man that's in front of you. Don't necessarily focus about the man that's behind you.
He's too much trying to read the race, right? And trying to be involved, and also with penalties, we know how he's like. And it's not helping him. I think he needs all his talent and focus and the hard processor in his mind to keep the car on the black stuff and to go as fast as possible, because you have your teammate breathing down your neck. You have your engineer who's not being really honest, because the engineer said, no, the pace is okay. No, the engineer should have said, George, pick up the pace now because we're going to be in trouble. So it's a way of gelling, and it doesn't gel as well as it does with his teammate and Bono, or with Lewis and his new Italian Bono.
Yeah, he was a lucky boy, George, as well, because whilst ultimately with Kimi forced to retire 4 laps from the end, we could have been sat here because at that stage heartbreak. Kimi was second.
I mean, he overtook him fair and square. He pushed him. Great move, by the way, down the inside. Not really how you should defend as George. If you go for the inside, you have to make sure you block the inside, even the grass. And then with a guy like Kimi, he will just keep it there. So, quite easy overtake then for Kimi. And then he pulled away after that 1.5 seconds. Until the car just stopped. So George will see it as a eye for an eye. How do you say it in English? Eye for an eye. My car failed in Canada. Now your car fails. So we're square. And I think Kimi he looked mature enough. He sounded mature enough on the radio. Like, okay, this is part of racing. There's not much I can do. I showed my skills today.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, ultimately, not to get too carried away, but had Kimi stayed second, and I know we're now into the realms of ultimately speculation, but had he managed to get to the end ahead of George, what would that have done? That would have been another huge psychological blow to George Russell. And
it would have broken him. It would have broken him. I mean, Chris, we said it as well. George needs to get pole in Barcelona, or it will be over the championship for him in Mercedes. Not just because of the mental situation within the team. You need to show your strengths once in a while to make sure you get the team behind you to believe in you, that you are also still a challenger for the title. And if he, the way he lost it in the race to Kimi, he's quite lucky, yes, that he's not, that Kimi failed to score any points. It definitely helps his status.
It certainly does. I mean, what it has done is it's kept him with a little bit of interest in this title tussle. Still a long way to go. We're only 7 races down, of course. Currently, we've got 22 races. Who knows if that will change in the coming weeks, Robert. But there is something brewing this season. The emergence of Kimi, now Lewis reasserting himself. We might just be in for one of those seasons that will go down as one of the all-time greats.
One of the all-time greats. And then there's obviously the driver summer crazy talks, who's going where. Max Verstappen was photographed in, somebody took a picture of him in Salzburg, where there was a secret meeting with Mark Mateschitz, the other owner, the family from Thailand, at the Red Bull headquarters. What's going on? Are they talking future, or are they discussing other stuff? So everybody's keeping an eye on what Max is doing. Is he still happy to finish 4th or 5th? Let's be honest, the best driver on the grid is going to finish 5th or 6th in the championship this year. And that is Max Verstappen. If Kimi shows great speed and is really on fire, but I think if you put Max and Kimi in the car, Max will still beat him. There will be a great pairing, by the way. Can you imagine if Mercedes gets them in one team one day? Oh,
it is.
Mega.
It's exciting, but I did see one comment that was left on one of our videos on our YouTube channel, Robert, and someone was kind of asking the question, with the emergence of Kimi now, would there still be a need for Max at Mercedes, given the fact we all know if Max moves teams, he wants to be the top dog?
Yeah. It will bring tension for sure, Chris. I mean, we've seen this with other drivers. If you have two top dogs in one team, it's going to be either a dogfight or there's going to be one clear winner. And I mean, as a fan of the sport and analyst and co-host of this podcast, I would love to see Max being challenged by a teammate before his Formula One career ends.
The question is, does he want that, Robert?
Yeah, true. That's true. I don't know. I think Max is quite comfortable in the position he is at the moment at
Yeah,
Red Bull.
he absolutely is. There's no doubt about that. It's it's interesting. You mentioned there's loads of storylines in Barcelona, and there's always something to discuss. You talk about there that Lando Norris, bit anonymous, fact that it's a bit of a shrug of the shoulders. Another week ticked off. You know, the other fella who's almost never gets airtime anymore. He's an afterthought, and I mean that as respectfully as I can be. Is Oscar Piastri, because he's just not anywhere close to the action either.
No. I'm wondering what's going on behind the scenes there. Is the mind already focused on moving teams at the end of the year? So if so, where do you go? I mean, if drivers are becoming under pressure, if George is not delivering, he got a podium now, so the pressure is off. But that's the world of F1. There's non-stop pressure. Even if you're in the best team, definitely when you're in the best team, you have to deliver. And then there will be other drivers and managers looking for that seat. So I think Oscar knows that he's not going to be number one at McLaren, so he's always looking elsewhere. And that's the name of the game. So, but it doesn't do him justice if he's just driving around behind Lando in 7th place. You know, then you don't see the Piastri that we saw last year that was on fire in the first 7 Grand Prix. Remember, he won this race last year when we all said, okay, he's going to walk off with his championship. And he ended up 3rd in Abu Dhabi, where the final was decided.
Yeah, you're right. It's amazing, 12 months and the life and times of Oscar Piastri. I'd love to try and root around.
Can you imagine 12 months that Fernando Alonso, home hero, we should talk about him as well. He qualified last for his home race. He preferred to sit in the grandstand than to drive the Grand Prix. That's what he said. He had a better view of the race. And then Lewis will be happy with him because of the virtual safety car. But it's painful to watch, man. A 2-time world champion like him, such a charismatic guy, and then, just being dead last all the time. Crazy.
It is.
Cadillac even was faster than Aston Martin in qualifying. Who would have predicted that?
Well, yes, but Cadillac again struggling. I noticed as well, Valtteri Bottas, a 3rd retirement for him in 7 races. And okay, listen, we cut them a bit of slack. New to Formula One, there's always going to be teething problems. But themselves and Aston Martin, they are quite a long way short of the rest.
They're a long way short, and there's new kids in town. The Brazilian guy that is winning in Formula 2. They're focusing on him to push him into F1, so Bottas has to look over his shoulder as well to make sure he keeps his seat for the end of the year.
Yeah, I tell you what you have done. You've absolutely made me now really intrigued as to what will happen come the summer. And we're not even halfway through this bleeding season, Robert, and we're already speculating on who moves where come the end of this season. But there'll be a lot of jostling for seats. You expect a lot of changes come the end of the season?
Yeah, I see a lot of positives as well, because look at Lewis. If Lewis would have another disastrous season like he did last year, for sure he would have said goodbye to the sport and do other stuff, pursue other dreams. But if you see Lewis now, there's no reason not to continue his contract at Maranello, which means that seat is taken and that team is closed because they just extended also Charles Leclerc. Mercedes, both drivers have a 1-year contract. May the best man win. I'm not sure if there's place for the other guy. And then Max is in the hot seat. Is he going to stay at Red Bull? So, the next couple of months will be very interesting. Home race coming up for Red Bull in Austria. They want to do well there. They haven't done well in recent years. So that will also be a game changer for what's happening in the future.
How do you critique Isaac Hadjar, Robert, and all of this? Terrible start today, tumbled down from just a horrible getting off the start line. How would you rate his season so far?
I don't think it's too bad, to be honest. I mean, the podium got taken away. We almost forgot to mention Pierre Gasly got a podium in Monaco after his 5-second penalty was deleted. And what a mess they made in Monaco with all these speed limits and Pierre Gasly not having the picture on the podium in Monaco. I'm sure with AI he can shop himself in there, but it's different, to have the experience to be there and to say thank you to the Prince of Monaco. But the team Alpine obviously very happy that they got the podium back. Big points for them in the championship is important. Scored points again today, so they've done well. But if you look at the Hadjar, I think his season is better than all his predecessors, how do you say? The
Predecessors.
drivers that were there before him.
Yeah, predecessors.
He's delivering. He's lucky with the new regulations. I think that the gap with Max is not exaggerating too much. In qualifying, he was competitive, scored some decent points. I think the start, you cannot blame him. There are lots of drivers that struggle with the software and all this. Look at Max. He didn't even got away in Monaco from the start grid. So a launch is already a plus for Red Bull in 7 days' time.
Tell me this, Robert, a man that lives and breathes Formula One, for a lot of talk, and we were guilty of perpetuating that talk at the start of this season about the new regulations. It does seem to me in the last few races, maybe the last couple certainly, Monaco and now Catalonia, there's no chatter now around the regulations. Have they settled down? Are we now starting to see we're settling into a pattern of what Formula One can be in this regulation era?
Yeah, unbelievable what a couple of weeks difference it made. After Japan, we were sitting here in the podcast. You said, this is a disaster. It's going to be a long season. F1 has to do something. You cannot watch this. If you listen to the radio, you hear the engine revs drop. And now, if you're on board, you hear the engine drop a little bit in RPM. But then they're charging. There's good racing, we have to be honest. I mean, the way Lewis passed Piastri, even the both Mercedes drivers, wheel to wheel. There's some great racing going on. And then everybody seems to be happy again. So, yes, I think for the future, they still need to be cautious that they don't go too much with the electrification or too much with the hybrids. Let's just focus on, combustion engines and make sure the sustainability comes from another part in F1. Because at the end of the day, we're here to see race cars and not only electric cars charge their batteries up and down straights. And the past few Grand Prix have been mega. I'm not sure what's going to happen in Monza, to be honest, with those long straights. That will be different. But they can play a lot with these mega joules. If they lower it a little bit, it takes longer for them to reach top speed, which means there's less super clipping.
Yeah, one of the other
easier to watch.
Bits and pieces, you talk about the fact all of these drivers are using their skill sets to try and wring out the maximum out of these cars, Robert. I don't know if you saw the drone over the track over there in Catalonia. Kimi Antonelli just on the track limits. I mean, this young man is just literally throwing this car to within an inch of itself, let alone himself. I mean, maybe talk through to the listeners, to the viewers of the podcast, the track limits and what Kimi's extracting out of this car by pushing the limits as much as he does.
I love it that you tap into this topic. And actually, I had it on my to-do list to talk about today because, yes, there were other drivers complaining. There was even engineers from McLaren telling Lando Norris, Kimi will be punished, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it would be good for the sport if you see a driver just looking for the maximum within the rules. The rules say a piece of the Pirelli rubber should be on the track. The other part of your car can be wherever you want. And it's a fine line if you go over. Yes, if you do that 3 times, you get a penalty, etc. But it also shows Kimi from day one that he arrived in Formula One, he finds more tarmac, he finds more road, which means he has to turn less in corners. It's almost like a go-kart style where he turns in from the edge of the grass, jumps the curb, lands just before the grass. And it's fantastic to watch. And it's a big difference than with a driver like George, who's very precise and keeps it within the white lines. You're actually getting performance out of the car more if you choose to take the risk towards the edge of the track. But Kimi, in particular, he's really on.
Can you teach that, Robert, or is that just how he ultimately raced in his younger days in karting?
It's raw talent, Chris. I mean, I remember that if I would focus too much on the white line to stay close to the white line before turn-in, I would just miss my apex completely and would go off. So I would stay within my borders. And I think there's some drivers that just feel exactly where they can place the car. And an inch makes a difference of maybe 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers more speed mid-corner, which at the end is a difference of a couple of thousands over a lap. And it's all in those details. I mean, you cannot say George is driving slow because he got pole position. But Kimi, in a race like today, he extracts more from the tire. I'm sure when his tires come off, they're really done. There's no rubber left. And he just tries to maximize the track limits. And I love that. And I think natural track limits are the best because if you go off then, it hurts yourself. Like the drone shot you're talking about, that's not a natural track limit. That's actually tarmac with a sensor. So if he goes wide there, the sensor will say, eh. But if you take turn 10 up the hill to the right, then there was a gravel on the outside, which means if you go wide there, you hurt yourself and you hurt your lap time.
You're right. Just on the
best.
subject of kind of Mercedes, not to be all too doom and gloom. Ultimately, it's a bad day at the office for Kimi. Lewis Hamilton's made 25 points on him. His teammates made 18 points on him. He still has that big lead. It's still early on in the season. But any concern for you, Robert, now? George didn't finish. There was a power unit issue in Montreal. Clearly a power unit issue now for Kimi in Catalonia. Does that worry you at all?
Well, I mean, for me, it's different. I think it's more of a worry for Toto Wolff and Mercedes, because it's at the end of the day, Mercedes is in Formula One also to expose their qualities, and if their engine is failing, it doesn't make them look that good. On the customer teams, they're doing well. They're still finishing races, but the factory team is extracting the maximum out of the engine, and it seems like they're pushing the boundaries in a way that the engine doesn't seem to like it, because Canada is only a few weeks ago. Now again, another failure. You have a few engines in your carousel which you can use throughout the season, but you don't want to think about penalty points. So it's more back in Stuttgart that they have to think about how can we push this engine to its limit. Because let's not forget, you cannot change the engine settings in a race, right? So the settings you start with, yes, you can downgrade it if you want, but you cannot upgrade it. And it seems like that's confusing sometimes, because we hear a driver like Lewis Hamilton asking for more power sometimes to his team. And that's not actually turning up the engine. That's more to do with the battery charging and deployment. But this is a pure combustion engine failure, and it's
painful for Mercedes. Absolutely delight for Ferrari. I'd love to be in their garage tonight for the knees up. That
will be a good one.
No doubt, right? That'll be a great party tonight.
I'm sure, and where you are, there are some good parties as well, Chris. With talking about parties, there's a World Cup soccer going on in your the country where you're at the moment. My family-in-law is in Dallas, because tonight the Dutch team is playing.
They kickstart their FIFA World Cup. I've got to say though, Robert, as you say, I am in New York. I am over here for the FIFA World Cup. Scotland in action, my beloved Scotland last night, a victory for them, so well done them. Morocco in Boston later on this week, and then of course I'll be in Miami for Scotland-Brazil. I have to say though, Robert, here in New York, it was all about the New York Knicks last night. So I spent 2 hours walking around all the different bars in town, pleading for somebody to pop on one of the televisions, the Scotland game. And thankfully I found one barman who would do just that for me. So I've got to say a big thanks to Tam for that, because had he not done that, I may well have been like a sad man back in my hotel room staring at a blank screen.
But we're lucky guys, man. We made from our hobby our profession. You're chasing your dreams with F1 in the podcast, with the football now in the US. I was lucky this week to be able to drive a rally car through the streets of Italy at the Mille Miglia rally. Happy that I'm still here, that I actually survived it, because Chris, this place is nuts. It's called the Mille Miglia. It's 1,600 kilometers, but they extended it to 2,000 in 5 days. And there are no traffic rules. So the whole of Italy says for 365 days, normally we have traffic rules. But you know what? For 1 week, you can go all in. I had police officers pushing me while I was already driving 160 kilometers an hour through a village, and people cheering on the side of the road. And the officer was like, why, faster? I took more risk now than in my entire racing career, just to make sure I was going from stage to stage. It was a crazy week.
Yeah, I've got to say, Robert, I'm a huge admirer of you on social media. You are prolific. And I've got to say this as well, Robert, you're highly skilled. Your videos, your photography, you really bring the events that you do to life. It looked incredible. Give us some of the highlights for anyone that perhaps is not aware of what you have been up to. What were some of the takeaways from the race?
Well, some of the takeaways, first of all, it was Vredestein Tires, that there's a Dutch company. They invited me to do this rally together with another former F1 driver, very famous in Italy. His name is Giancarlo Fisichella. So we both were handed over a 1954 vehicles, classic cars, with, of course, the Vredestein Tires. And to make sure we make the 2,000 kilometers. We were supposed to be driving close to each other, etc. But at the end of the day, we're race car drivers. The blood goes where, there's still fuel running through our veins. So into turn 1, leaving Milan, I outbraked Giancarlo with a locking wheel on the inside. It was almost took off his mirror. And we had a lot of fun. I mean, this is a rally for the rich and famous as well, because the amount of money that was driving on the track, there were 450 classic cars, and total value was $700 million. I met people from New York, actually, a very nice gentleman who flew in his Ferrari worth $12 million, and he just drove it for the Mille Miglia on and he was flat out. I met him at a gas station. His credit card didn't work, so I paid for his fuel. And I said, I just want to know your story. He said, well, anytime you come to New York, I will double down on this fuel. Thank you very much. But he told me that he just has this passion for racing and to go out with his son once a year and drive this car. A couple $100,000 for 4 days of fun. It's for some people it's a lot of money, for some people it's not. But at the end of the day, they have passion for these type of cars, and it's beautiful to see.
Robert, it's a race. You should never have given him money to fill up his car.
No, true. But he was in a different league. I was not racing him, and I was just trying to make some friends.
Right, okay. So I think we can safely say you didn't win. Please tell me you beat Giancarlo Fisichella.
I did. I beat Giancarlo. Yes. So I got my medal. I actually have it with me. I'll show it later. That was the thing, trying to make the finish. After day 1, I had a fire in the car. I was like, okay, I'm not going to make the finish from Milan to Rome and back to Milan, but we did. So yes, last night I got the reward.
One of the best experiences that you've done, Robert?
Yeah, I wasn't into classic cars that much, but I really appreciate it now. I do need physiotherapy because I was stuck in the car like this, so I'm going to look for a nice masseuse, but I'll ask my wife, see if she can help me out tonight. But at the end of the day, it's been a great experience.
What's that? Massage or in the car? Which one?
Well, the racing part, not the massage part.
Good. Important distinction, that, Robert. I'll leave you and your wife to sort out all that stuff. Race next year, consider it done. I want to be in the passenger seat with you for a few days. That sounds like heaven. And did you stuff your face with pizza and pasta as well, I take it?
Of course. I can't see it anymore. I have so much pizza and pasta. I need some other food now. But what a beautiful country. It's unbelievable. Really, really, really nice.
And I tell you what, it's fitting, isn't it? You come off the back of doing Mille Miglia, and it's the Italians of Ferrari. It's Lewis Hamilton celebrating victory at the Catalunya Grand Prix. Just wrapping up, Robert, fundamentally, kind of the last word, I guess, does go to Lewis Hamilton. He's had to wait a long time. He's finally got the monkey off the back. Said it earlier, 7 wins now in Catalunya, 106 Grand Prix victories in his career. Are we going to see a few more now, or are we in for a really, really good European summer season for you with Lewis Hamilton?
I actually believe that as well, Chris. I think this is not a fluke. This is not a victory that came by due to pure luck. It was actually a build-up towards it. Canada was great. Monaco was even better. He's here now. On the circuit where your car is fast in Barcelona. I think he can win on any type of circuit at the moment with this car. As long as Mercedes doesn't bring any upgrade and they gain another 3 or 4 tenths and then they just drive off into the distance. But also strategy-wise, we've been very critical about Ferrari strategy in recent years. They were on top of it today. So respect for the growth of the team. And I think, Lewis is in a good spot.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was Mercedes that were always reacting. It was Ferrari who were the proactive ones today. They were making the first move, and all the time Mercedes were reacting to them.
So that gives them the confidence you need for the rest of the season. And bring on Austria. Another low downforce configuration. Ferrari had great top speed. So I think it looks good for Lewis and the team.
Right, given the fact that you have connections in Austria, being a Red Bull man as you are through and through, can I expect to see you when I get back to Dubai, or are you in Austria for that one?
No, I'm going to be here. So I wish you all the best in the US and share some behind the scenes stuff from the World Cup. And obviously listen to your radio show as well. You're going to do at the score every night something?
No, well, someone will. It won't be me, Robert. I'll be dialing in when I can be bothered, because this is officially holiday mode. I've been investing in new New York shirts. And I'm ready to paint the town blue. as the case may be.
Change your name to Chris Carbone, New York gangster tonight.
Hey, I'm too nice for that, my friend. I'm too nice for that. I've already bumped into a couple of people who've listened and watched the podcast, so I've got to say a big thanks to anyone who has spotted me and stopped me for a little bit of a chat. And that's not a lie either, by the way. I am recognisable in the Big Apple, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. But the Pit Talk podcast, powered by Ethara. Quick reminder as well, abudabigp.com. I want to go there. It's important I go there because anyone that has interest in attending the Etihad Airways Abu Dhabi Grand Prix first weekend in December, you can get your tickets now. And as Robert said last week as well, we are giving away 4 tickets on this very podcast. Details to emerge in next episode, next edition of the pod, as we reflect on Austria, the Austrian Grand Prix, race 8 of this season. Right, Rob, it's that's it, done and dusted. You need your bed, you need a massage, and a long rest after the week that you've had, my friend.
Yeah, hey, keep liking us. Thanks, followers, and sharing it with your friends. And looking forward, obviously, to share these tickets with you guys. And enjoy the US. And I hope Scotland and the Dutch find each other in a semi-final somewhere or something.
Well, good luck. Good luck to the Scots if they think they're going to be semi-finalists. I think, hey, listen, Rob, let's walk before we can run. Last 32 will do me fine. Thank you very much. But listen, you take care, my friend. Looking forward to being back at Mille Miglia with you in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be back on Dubai soil, so we'll be back together again where we belong at Mille Miglia in Dubai. But for now, Robert Doornbos, top stuff. Thank you, my man.
Take care, mate. Bye.
Cheers. Right, that is it. The Pit Talk podcast powered by the good folk at Ethara. You can like, you can subscribe, you can give us a follow as well. Wherever you get your podcasts, we're available on all platforms. Check out our YouTube channel as well, and more importantly, as well, do check us out on social medias as well at the Pit Talk Pod. Right, I'm off to enjoy the sights and the sounds of the Big Apple. We'll be back next time to look back on the Austrian Grand Prix. For now, though, well, it's Red Letter Day. Lewis Hamilton, your victor. Catalunya Grand Prix.